Hey everybody, it's Sean from The Good Dog, and this is The Good Dog's Q&A Saturday, episode number 141. Hey gang, welcome back to the Good Dogs Q&A Saturday. Super happy to be back with you guys. I've been in the UK, so we were kind of like out of commission for a while, but was back last week, and I think I'm going to be back here for a pretty good stretch of time. So never fear, the Good Dog is here. Got a nice ring to it. Okay, so what's been cooking in the Good Dog world? My world. Can you write a book in a day? Anybody who followed me, or who follows me, I should say, on social media, probably saw that I posted up something about writing a book in a day. I actually did make it happen. It's a book I've been working on in my head for a while. We've had a loose framework and structure I wrote up a long time ago that we've shared at T3, which we've called the 10 Laws, which are like the basic foundational kind of operating system principles for a good life, a successful life, a happy life, a fulfilling life, an impactful life. And it's kind of all the stuff I've pulled from a bunch of different books, teachers, videos, studying, a whole vast array of things, and then pulling those kind of core principles that I kept seeing over and over and over again, and to be honest, the ones that helped me the most. So it's less of kind of like an academic thing, and it's much more a sharing of, this is what got me out of where I was, and I feel very passionately about sharing that and getting that out. Is it passionate? I feel very passionate. I think I feel very passionate. Sorry, I'm having like a grammar check as we go. I feel very passionate about making sure that message gets out there. It's a message that I wish I would have known about. It's information that I think most of us don't get. Our parents don't teach it to us unless we're extremely lucky. The school system definitely doesn't teach it to us. And we get taught all this other stuff, but the operating principles of life and how to do it well, they get short shrift or no shrift. They don't get anything. And so it's been a big goal, a big kind of mission of mine to put this together and put it in one easy to digest, super small, not overwhelming book that everybody could read and is super affordable and would hopefully jumpstart a lot of folks' lives or help them put some pieces together or find the basic principles and then go further and really excel and have a great life. That sounds really cheesy, but like have a fulfilling, successful, happy, impactful life. And without those basic principles, it's really hard to do. And I'm just always blown away by the fact that it's not taught anywhere, that it's not part of curriculum. If we were really looking to help students, young people do well, it would be, goal setting and mindset and, responsibility and character and resilience and approaching failure and all these different kind of concepts that are like the hallmark of successful people over and over and over again, don't get taught. Like it's the strangest thing in the world that the stuff that's the most important in many ways, and it's not just about making money, it's about living an impactful, great, valuable, healthy life, doesn't get taught. So I'm working to rectify that. And I did manage to write the book in one day. I wrote it all like this with the thumbs. Everybody's surprised and shocked, but I wrote it all on the iPhone like I write all my stuff, all the posts that you see, all the blogs, all the tips, all the anything, including the Good Dog Way book, Love Them by Leading Them, all of that written on an iPhone. So props to me in these thumbs. They were flat. They've come back, but I mean, I literally spent 16 to 18 hours or something writing, and my eyes were shot, and they're only starting to come back now. So anyways, I digress big time. Let me just rock on, but I'm super excited about it, and the hope is that if all goes well, I'm going to fly down to New Orleans in August and do the audiobook version for that, and then have this actually in your hot little hands, hopefully in maybe a month or two. So I'm really pressing myself to see like how quickly I can turn a project around. Typically you think of books and you're like, oh, it's a year project, but I want to see like, can I shake this up? Can I write it in a day? Can I proof it and tweak it, make it amazing and something I feel solid about over a week? And then can I get it proofread and copy edited and all that stuff, formatted and then manufactured and like, write all this stuff? Can I get it all done like in a month? I don't know. We'll see. Stay tuned. I'm super excited about it. I think it's going to help a lot of people. It certainly would have helped me because it was the stuff I certainly didn't know about, and I struggled immensely because of it. And so the goal is to hopefully cut out at least a good chunk of time for others that might be struggling, because if I would have found that information at 20 instead of at 40, who knows what I might have done. Anyways, what else is happening? We just released the UK dates for Jeff and my, or mine and Jeff, or my and Jeff, or Jeff and my, right? It's like a grammar lesson constantly. Jeff and my international seminar to the UK. I think we might even squeeze in a Europe date, which is super, super exciting. So that's in the works. Scotland's locked down. We've got a location in England. We're looking at a couple different spots though, just to make sure we got the exact right one. So that's coming up in 2018. Super exciting, guys. Like, UK was so much fun, so many great people, awesome accents as always in Scotland, and awesome shortbread. And so really looking forward to getting back there and hopefully starting to spread out, starting to slowly move our way into Europe. And then a lot of folks want us to hit Australia. So I know Australia and New Zealand will be on the menu as well. So that's cool. The last T3 of the year. Can you believe it? The last T3 of the year in Rhode Island. That's what is it coming up? October 9th through the 15th. So anybody who's looking to do T3 launch, guys, this is your last shot. You know, we're only doing a couple a year because things are so busy. So I know a lot of folks were asking about LA, and we're working on trying to figure out and lock down the dates for LA. But as it stands right now, this is it. That's all you got. And the LA will be in 2018. So this is the last one for 2017. If you want to come see us and learn from us and go through the T3 launch program, this is your last shot. October 9th through the 15th. It'll be beautiful in Rhode Island, I think. The website is www.trainthetrainerswithjeffandsean.com. www.trainthetrainerswithjeffandsean.com. And beyond that, guys, like on the real, I'm still working on trying to shed this UK weight. There was a lot of Indian food, there was a lot of shortbread, there was a lot of ice cream. Like, I didn't think ice cream was going to be a foe. I knew like shortbread and I knew some of the other stuff was going to be a problem, but I had no idea that ice cream was going to be a major play a major role, a villainous role in the trip. And that's because somebody brought like 6 or 7 quarts of like some amazing, super high quality, like handcrafted ice cream, and then left it in the freezer with like unguarded and just me. And yeah, so I think I'm still a little chunked out. And so I'm working on, it's the usual O'Shea kind of thing. I go to T3, I call it like the T310, and the T310 is like I usually put on 10 pounds of T3 in a week. And so I'm sure I put on at least a good 10 while I was in the UK. I did some running, did some working out, but it's dicey. Anyways, guys, that's what's cooking. I hope that wasn't too long and drug out. But let's get on with the show and see what the hell's cooking with these questions. What's really cool is that we're getting super fancy in this episode. I went out, got an iPad mini. I had one. And I sold it because I wasn't using it, and of course now I realize, starting to shoot this like this, I've been looking at the computer, and how annoying and boring is it for you guys to like stare at the side of my head rather than me have a device I can read off of like a gentleman. So that's what's cooking, and let's take it away and see how this new fancy pants version of Q&A Saturday looks. Welcome to the show. Thanks for being here, guys. Let's jump in. Boom. Okay, gang, so this is pretty exciting, at least for me. Instead of turning my head to look at the computer and do this whole big thing that I've been doing, which is really, I'm sure, annoying for you guys, I went out, got an iPad, a used one, because we don't need anything fancy, so I can actually read like a gentleman to you guys and go through all the questions here, and actually keep eye contact with you for the most part, rather than turning my head in a rude fashion. So that is super exciting to me. Let's jump into question number 1. This question is from Wendy. Let's see what Wendy has to say. I would like some advice on something I've struggled with for the past 2 years. My dog does not like his collar to be put on or adjusted by other people other than myself. Let me open that up a little bit. Put on or adjusted by other people other than myself or my husband while in our presence. He has growled and lunged at 2 trainers and 2 other people when they try to put his collar on. However, he doesn't snap at them when they adjust his collar when we are not around. At one point, a trainer guided him out of the room 10 feet away and put his e-collar on with no problem. My dog has a few triggers. They only seem to be triggers in his owner's presence, which is you. This I know, I just don't know why. I've talked to a few trainers and researched, but any advice or fresh perspectives would help. Thank you. Wendy Quiros, something like that? Okay. How was that? That was pretty fancy, right? Like, I'm kind of digging it. Anyways, so I've got some notes for Wendy, but I don't really need them. Here's the deal. So when you've got a dog, I mean, dogs are any dog that's not in a great space, like overall state of mind, overall relationship with their owner, in the owner's hands, owners holding the leash or proximity close to the owner, are going to be far more dangerous than they would be otherwise. Which is why when I do my one-on-one sessions, especially the ones in New Orleans, which I typically run myself, I have the owners leave so I can work with the dog on my own. It's also why in our board and train program, we don't have owners around. It's why the board and train program is far better suited for more high-end dogs in the kind of danger factor or risk factor, things like that, because the owners aren't present. You not only get to control every moment and influence the dog, but you don't have those toxic influences coming in that can set dogs off, create possessive, protective mindsets, which will cause dogs to actually like guard and then bite other people that aren't their owners. So I really think that's what you've got going on. Typically this stuff comes from relationship stuff. So if you asked a bunch of trainers, I'd be surprised if they didn't, if they knew what they were doing, didn't suggest something in that ballpark. If a dog is guarding you or being possessive of you or growling at other people when they come close. Now, if you just said, my dog's not comfortable with people approaching in general, right? Doesn't matter the context, just strange people coming up and wanting to touch, get close to my dog, all that stuff's intimate, putting a collar on, all that, I would say that makes perfect sense. You've got an insecure dog as far as unfamiliar humans, and I would say advocate for your dog and don't allow that to happen so your dog can feel more comfortable, more safe, and your dog doesn't need to be put under intense pressure from strangers. But you say that as soon as you guys leave, that stuff goes away, right? So that's the big clue here. So as soon as you leave, or the trainer takes the dog 10 feet away from you, things change. So what do we do about this stuff? What do we do about, you say you've been struggling with this for 2 years. What do you do? Well, I would take a look at affection. I'd take a look at how much freedom your dog has. I would take a look at what kind of rules you have. I would take a look at what kind of consequences you share. And then I would take a look at how well you do all of those things, both the fun stuff, the affection and the freedom and the play and all that, and the hard stuff, the rules, the structure, the consequences, the accountability. And if your dog is not taking you serious in that fashion as far as rules, structure, leadership, accountability, you're going to struggle if you have a dog that's in that mindset. So my guess is if you were sitting here with me and we were talking about this, or your dog was here and we were working through this stuff, it'd be pretty clear to me, once again, my guess, that there's some imbalance in your relationship and in your dog's perception, especially of your relationship. So it sounds like you've been doing training, you've been working on stuff, but just doing obedience or just doing training or just working through the program, that's oftentimes not going to give you the relationship balance that you need if you're not stepping up to the plate and becoming a true leader. And I know everybody, a lot of folks can get weird with like the whole leadership thing, and they equate it with dominance and like being oppressive and hard on the dog. But I'm just saying, if you're not able to occupy that space where you can authentically share consequences and structure and rules and in a believable fashion with your dog, what you're going to get, if you've got a dog that's more prone to being firm, more prone to being insecure, more prone to being suspicious, you're going to find that your dog is going to start making decisions on his or her own rather than making decisions based on what you would like them to do. So that's the whole thing. When you've got great training in place and you've got a great relationship in place, your dog just looks to you for what to do. But you've got a dog that's kind of working as an independent contractor. He's just doing his own thing, most likely because the relationship is out of balance. So you want the answer from me that I would say, with the amount of information, the limited amount of information that I have, is you've got a relationship in inequality, you've got an imbalanced relationship issue. And so I would really, really, really go back and look at what I said earlier about how much freedom do you share with him? How much affection do you share? How soft are you in a kind of like ongoing lifestyle fashion versus the structure, the rules, the discipline, the accountability, and the consequences? And if you feel like, I always say, like, be as believable in your discipline as you are in your affection, and most folks can be super believable in their affection, but when it comes to discipline, not so much. And if that's going on with the right dog, and when I say the right dog, I mean the wrong dog, then you can really struggle and end up in the situation where your dog is possessing, guarding, feeling insecure, whatever it might be. It's a multitude of things that could be at play here, but it doesn't matter what exactly it is. What matters is that it sounds like it's a relationship issue, and shoring up that relationship issue makes 99% of those issues go away. So my dogs wouldn't care who's putting a collar on them, because even if I'm standing there holding the leash, because there's no perception of like, I'm here to guard my owner. There's none of that. I'm in charge, right? In a really nice, fun, great fashion. If I do say so myself, we have fun, we play and do all that stuff, but I also hold them highly accountable for any silliness. Keeps us in a very, very nice balance. So that's kind of the lowdown on that. You know, dogs have got typically, and especially certain breeds, have a bigger predisposition towards natural possessive or I should say protective kind of qualities. But typically that stuff's just exacerbated by relationship stuff being out of balance. So I hope that helps. And I would just highly suggest you go in and kick some butt and put don't just put all your eggs in the obedience basket and feel like you've done the work. The work is really in, how does your dog perceive you? Are you believable as a leader? And if you are, you rarely see this kind of stuff, except for in like dogs that are bred to be like personal protection dogs and things like that. Unless your dog is one of those dogs, your dog should not be doing this stuff. So, hope that helps. Okay, so question number 2. We've got a question from Nicole Cleary. This one's an easy one to read. I'm just digging this. I feel so pro. What are your thoughts on having more than one trainer? Interesting question, and I don't think I've ever had it before. And then somebody underneath says, I really like this question, but wanted to make sure I understand. Are you referring to different disciplines, such as companion dog training versus competition obedience? And Nicole says, actually both, companion and or competition obedience. So right now I have my girl in an attention/focus class group with other dogs, which helps with her insecurities around other dogs. Then we do one-on-ones with another trainer working on obedience stuff. I sort of like to keep my options open. And I'm sorry, the eyes are going on me. I sort of like to keep my options open and use who I feel, oh, it was a typo, it wasn't me misreading it, and use who I feel we are getting more from. Make sense? Okay, so that's a really interesting question, Nicole, and of course I've got notes for you because I always have notes, but okay, so first of all, my kind of guiding principle with dog training, and just about anything else in life, is do what works best for you and do what works best for your dog. So if multiple trainers are working for you, then that's really great. If you're doing like, and that's why the other person asked, are you doing like different disciplines? Are you doing like agility? Are you doing this? Are you doing that? To me, that makes a lot of sense. So if you're doing obedience, or you're doing behavior modification, or you're doing like standard kind of pet dog training, but you're also doing like agility, or you're doing flyball, or you're doing scent work or something like that, those to me work really well together. The problem is when you start getting like, when you start trying to combine training that has overlap, like you're doing stuff as far as obedience work, but you're also doing stuff with the kind of focus work around other dogs and things like that. And it doesn't mean that that can't be valuable, and it doesn't mean that you can't find your way to navigate through that and make it work for you. But it can also cause a lot of problems for your dog and for yourself. It can create a lot of overlap, a lot of confusion, conflict, different commands, different strategies, different techniques, things like that. And then all of a sudden, both of you are kind of overwhelmed with like, crap, what do we do with this? What's the best way to go? We've got 4 different opinions on like this approach and things like that. So that's something to watch out for. You sound like you got a pretty strong kind of opinion and take on the whole situation. So you're probably not in that kind of like waffling, like, I'm not sure what to do. It sounds like you like to kind of like shop around, like I like this, and I like this, and I like this. But I would recommend that you're careful with it, because I think a really good trainer should be able to handle pretty much all that stuff. So you said you've got a dog that's insecure around other dogs. I think a really good trainer should be able to help you with that in a more foundational, fundamental, overarching kind of sense. And as far as obedience, a really good trainer should be able to build that into that as well. So, and I'm not like trying to pump us up or say this is the way you should do it. Just saying that dogs that come out of here have all their obedience commands, are fully off-leash trained, but we also work on behavior modification. We also work on, if there's dog-to-dog issues, things like that. So what you end up with is a dog that has a more singular kind of approach that's been tried and true to create certain lasting, good, solid results for all of those different things. So like I said, I'm not pushing our thing. I'm just saying that if you tried to hire us and you said you were going to go see multiple trainers at the same time, I probably wouldn't allow that, just because I wouldn't want the conflict. I wouldn't want it for you, and I wouldn't want it for us. I wouldn't want to keep hearing questions about like, well, my other trainer says, or, this, I've been taught this. To me, if you're going to commit, jump in all the way. I think, honestly, this would be my best advice. Commit all the way to a trainer and a training modality or methodology. Jump in all the way and like rock through it. And then once you're done with that program, then see what you got, and then see what you need to work on, and then go see somebody else to maybe work on some other stuff. But that way you get some real clarity about what is this program offering, without the confusion of like, well, I've got a multitude of programs, or even 2 programs, and like which one's creating which benefit, which effect, and which one is not creating the benefit and effect that we want. So I think when you add too much together, you have the possibility of confusion and beyond the commands and stuff like that, but of like, which one's working, which one's helping. You might even think one's working and it's really the other one that's doing it. So it's an interesting question. And like I said, everyone to each their own, and whatever works for you and whatever you think is benefiting you is what you've ultimately got to go for. But that wouldn't be my approach, as far as like, we've had clients that do agility and that are doing e-collar training with us, or behavior modification training with us, and they combine those 2 worlds. But like, you say your dog's nervous around other dogs, like, and then you're doing obedience training. To me, those are like, I hate to say it, but like 2 worlds that should be together. Not that focus training, and I really don't want to diss like what you're doing, but not that focus training it is not valuable, but there's some really amazing, valuable ways to create more confidence in dogs around other dogs and things like that, through a program that's a more comprehensive program, rather than just like you're doing one-on-one obedience training. And if you really process that, that's like teaching obedience commands and then proving obedience commands. That's not state of mind. That's not the full comprehensive overarching kind of approach. So different stuff, but who knows? What the hell do I know? Maybe that's working and creating that kind of synergy that you need to find your best stuff. I don't know. It's hard for me to say. It's a really interesting question, and I hope I don't come off sounding defensive about it, because that's not my intention. I'm just kind of really, as I'm going through this, trying to share honest opinions about what I would think. Because here's the deal. We get clients that come in over and over and over again that have been to 1, 2, 3, 4 trainers, and they're confused about which approach to go with. And I think it's an easy place for people to fall into. Like, well, this trainer said to do this, and this trainer said to do this, and this trainer said to do this, and the next thing you know, you don't even know what to do when you're faced with the situation that's problematic. If you can navigate that and do it in a healthy, clear, non-friction filled fashion for you and your dog, then knock yourself out. But I would just go with one trainer at a time, knock it out of the park, see what you get. Then you know exactly what you've got out of that training program, and then move on. I wouldn't be doing multiple ones at the same time. Just me. So, but let me know what you get. What the hell do I know? I just do my thing, and to each their own. And if it's working for you, honestly, that's what it comes down to, and that's what I started off the answer with. If it's working for you, that's the only thing you really need to worry about. So hopefully that helps. Okay, guys, so question number 3. This one is from Kristen. And Kristen asks, what does Kristen ask? I have a 3-month-old GSD She is such a sweet girl and very friendly, except when it comes to meeting new dogs that are outside of her pack. She's starting basic obedience classes on Tuesday, and since she has had her final set of puppy shots, I can now take her out in public to socialize her. But when she meets new dogs, her hackles are standing straight up from head to tail. I've only experienced this once with her, but I don't want her to become dog selective nor dog aggressive as she ages. I agree. Any thoughts or suggestions on preventative training for her? I don't have experience with an e-collar, but I do with a prong collar. I haven't introduced her to the prong yet. She does have a martingale collar on now. She'll be introduced to the prong the first day she starts basic obedience. Though, excuse me. Okay, so that's Kristen. Kristen, that's a great question. Let's scope out your notes. So, 3-month-old GSD uncomfortable with new dogs. That's a baby. That's a really young dog. So, first of all, I would kind of like just take a little bit of the pressure off yourself and your dog. Just like, I'm not saying just like clock out. I'm just saying, let's just like take a little pressure off. If your dog is hackles up and a little concerned, a little worried, maybe she's just feeling things out, right? So we want to be careful we keep things in balance and don't jump to too many conclusions early on that all of this kind of like, hackles up and stuff is definitely moving in that direction that you don't want to. She might just be figuring things out. So bear that in mind. Along with that, you ask, what's the best way to approach the situation, right? What's the best way to help your dog or help ensure that your dog doesn't become dog selective or dog aggressive, dog reactive, etc. So the best way is to do 2 things. Ready? 2 things. Just 2. 1, advocate for your dog, right? Don't let other dogs come up and pressure your dog. Don't let other dogs get into your dog's face or space too quickly, too pushy, too strong, too firm, too bratty, too any of that stuff. Your job is to make sure that your young puppy, because it's a young dog, feels super safe and advocated for and protected. And that's your gig, right? So a lot of folks are like, well, like, let's let the dogs kind of like get familiar with dogs. And I started this off by saying, let's keep this in balance and not be too worried. That said, you absolutely have to draw the line. If you see anything that looks like too much pressure for your dog at this age where your dog's like worried and nervous and freaked out, and if you don't step in and keep her safe or just prevent it in the first place from, like, you see a dog that's being pushy and snotty and with another dog or in different contexts, go after that situation and prevent it from happening. So that's number 1. Advocate for your dog. Like that, I can't stress enough. I can't use that finger. Number 2 is to make sure that you correct your dog for if there are any like actual inappropriate behaviors, any kind of like getting snotty or snarly or nasty with another dog that doesn't actually deserve that kind of reaction. Another dog that's coming in really sweet and polite and just kind of scoping her out, and she's like getting nasty, I would correct that, right? So I would use a leash and prong, like give her a little pop, and it doesn't have to be anything dramatic, but I would be like, hey, that's unnecessary. This dog is not doing anything to you that is some kind of like, life-changing, high-pressure event. It's just you deciding you don't like it and then kind of testing the waters. I mean, your dog testing the waters to see if, like, can I push back? And if I push back, will that, like, pull the dog back? So when your dog's at this age, your dog's going to check a lot of things out. It's going to put its toes in the water, its little paws in the water, and figure out, what happens when I do this? Does this work for me? Does this not work for me? So your job is to say snotty, overreacting, being, like in the beginnings of brattiness, any of that stuff, like, it doesn't work. Let your dog know. So it's really those 2 things. Keep it super simple. So start off with being chill. Start off with she's young, she's figuring it out, and if she's not doing anything overt and over the top behavior wise, and no dogs are coming in and being like pushy steamrollers, I wouldn't worry too much. That said, if you do have dogs coming in being pushy steamrollers and making her uncomfortable and pressuring her, then that's on you. Your job is to advocate and make sure that that stuff's not going on. We don't want her to live in a plastic bubble, but at this point in her life, you really need to step up and make sure that she just feels safe so she can develop trust in other dogs. And then the last component is making sure that her reactions are appropriate at all times. And if they're not, that you're there to say, hey, knock it off. It doesn't have to be some big pivotal, critical, like I said, life-changing thing. It's just a little conversation. Hey, little pop on the leash. Hey, knock it off. And if anybody tells you it's going to make your dog nervous or dog aggressive, it's all silliness. You're just giving your dog information. That stuff you're doing, growling at that dog, that dog doesn't mean you any harm. That dog's not even pressuring you. That dog's not even paying attention to you. And you're like, whatever it is. So that's the best advice I can give you. Advocate, and then make sure your dog's appropriate. If you make sure the other dog's appropriate, and you make sure your dog's appropriate, you got a real good shot at your dog feeling super comfy and making great choices and trusting dogs and building and building and building on that as your dog gets older. And then relax and just kind of like take it all in. I'm not saying you're not relaxed. I'm not just saying keep that in mind. It can be easy when you got a new dog to be like, gotta make sure everything's just right. So make sure we don't put too much pressure on it. Okay? Hope that helps. Okay, guys, so question number 4. Mary wants to know, what do you do with clients that don't want to follow through? How do you deal with them? How do you help them move forward? How do you navigate that troubled territory of clients not doing their work? This question comes up over and over and over again at T3 and on dog training forums across the universe. It is the greatest challenge. It is the final frontier. I always talk about dog training being a super team sport. And if people don't see it that way, and trainers don't see it that way, and owners don't see it that way, I think you're out of the gate, you're losing. You can train a dog to the highest level, you can make the dog the most amazing dog in the world, and if the owners aren't doing their work, if they're not part of the team, it's like you're the greatest quarterback and then the rest of your team sucks, you're going to lose every time. The dog's going to go downhill, things are going to fall apart, and that's just the way it's going to be. So that's the first thing. If you can think about it as a teammate concept rather than you training the dog and then you're going to hand the dog off and you're going to coach them and all that stuff, but if you really think about teammates, what is it? Teammates are equally responsible to each other. That's the rub. Rather than teammates don't like hire the quarterback to do a good job. Teammates are like, we're all in the same boat together. And that's the distinction. That's the part that you really have to like really, really grab onto in your brain. Okay, so some notes for you. First, make sure your website and your social media talks about the work involved. So on our website, in many of my posts, I make sure that I infuse them with the information, the conversation, the expectation of how much work is involved down the line. I want to make sure that anybody that shows up that comes to do work with us understands that there's no quick fix, there's no appliance stuff, there's no like, here's your dog and it's all good and you don't have to do anything. We want them to know that honestly, and this is a message I try and share a lot, is that the real work starts when your dog goes home. And for a lot of trainers, especially newer trainers trying to launch their business, that's a scary thing to share because they feel like if they share that the owners are going to have to do serious work or that the real work starts when the dog goes home, that a lot of clients are going to balk at that and not be interested. And that's where you're going to lose. So you need to stand up and be honest and transparent. Just be real. Just be honest, transparent, and real. What does it take for a successful dog? Mary, you know what it takes, right? It takes you doing great work. It takes you passing on great information. And then it takes owners doing great work with that information that's been passed on to them and continuing and working until they get great results. It's as simple as that. But a couple of other things that can help you filter out or attract the I should say not the right, but a better level of clients, right? So have prices and pain points that you deal with, right? So have prices that are high enough that you're bringing in people that are going to be pretty invested in that. And I know you said in yours you're doing this stuff for free, so it's no surprise that you're bumping up against people that are not committed. Nobody commits at a high level, or very few people do, to free stuff. It's just the way it is. I hope you can get that. As much of a kind, nice, awesome thing you're doing, if you're doing free stuff, people are like, people don't value that which they don't pay for. It's as simple as that. So make sure you've got prices in place that create emotional investment. If you don't feel comfortable doing that, you've got to do the work to get to that place where you've got enough brand recognition, enough business recognition, enough reputation recognition to where you can have prices that work to create that reaction within your client of investment. Beyond that, you have to decide what kind of dogs you're going to work with. Happy-go-lucky dogs, puppies, things like that. It's just a reality. You're going to get a smaller pain point with that, right? Yeah, they may be like mouthing, and they may be nipping, and they may be barking or soiling and doing stuff like that and being a little pain in the ass, excuse my language, but they're not going to be at some high level of pain for the owner. They're not biting kids, biting people typically. I mean, unless mouthing is a very different thing than biting. So biting kids, biting people, attacking dogs, resource guarding, massive separation anxiety, massive fear, things like that. So if you're dealing with stuff like that, then you also have a higher investment level or a higher investment point for the client. And this also goes out to Bethany, who's on Instagram, who asked a very similar question. So we're kind of combining these questions together. Belle, we don't need claptrapping around here. So really combining these questions together because it's such a super common challenge, right? So we need prices that are in place that filter out people that are like, and then we need pain points if you want. And if you don't want to deal with that, that's cool. But just understand that the easier, the softer, the less challenge involved, the less pain. It's just human nature. The less pain involved, the less investment you're likely to get from those clients. So does it mean you have to work with man-eaters? No, but it might mean that you have to up your game a little bit about what you're working with. So once again, you said you're working for free, and so I'm not surprised you're meeting some challenges with this. So, and then at the end of the day, like after you've done all this work, it's like you do your best to teach, guide, cheer. I mean, you're there like doing your very best work, coaching the crap out of everybody, cheering everybody on, lifting everybody up, giving them the best guidance and tools and approach and methodology that you know, and then you let them go. Then you say, like any other healthy relationship, I've done my part completely at the highest level I can. And if you're not down to do your part, I let you go. I don't condemn you. I don't trash you. I'm not angry at you. I just let you go. And that's the hallmark of a trainer who's in a great headspace. They don't blame the owner. They don't blame the dog. They don't blame any of that stuff. They just do their very best work and then let that ship sail. Do your very best work. I know we care about dogs and we want them all to succeed, but The reality is that you have to give people permission to be who they are and make the choices that they make. I was talking with somebody the other day, and we were talking about this exact situation. And I was like, I wonder how many like gym owners, after people sign up and show up for like 3 sessions, to like work out, not even like trainer sessions, but just like, I've got a membership. They show up 3 times and then they don't show up again. That's human nature. Do you think those gym folks are like, man, Jimmy signed up, man, he doesn't show up anymore. He only came 3 times and he's like, he's not invested anymore. Like, I know it's different, but it's the same. It's the same in the fact of that it's a business transaction with a lot of heart involved because we care about the dogs, we care about the owners, but at the same time, you have to keep it in a certain neutral zone. For me, I keep it really simple. I do my very best work and I make sure the team does their very best work, and then I just let it go. And if people do their work following, I love it. If they need help and coaching, we're there. If they fall off and don't care and stop dieting or stop eating healthy, or you see the parallels. If they stop doing, which is superhuman nature, they stop doing the work that's hard to do, I just let them go. I'm not mad at them. It just is what it is. So what I shared with you earlier in the question are all the different ways that you can kind of create more investment, more buy-in, more commitment from the owner. And then at the end of this, it's really about you being a very mature dog trainer, human being that allows people to be accountable for their own behavior and just lets them go. It's as simple as that. So I hope that helps Mary and Bethany. Okay, so question number 5. All right, so this is from Kat Morgan Roth. She's got a fearful, insecure 3-year-old shepherd mix, snapped at the 9-month-old baby when she got too close to her place, the dog's place. I don't feel like I can trust her around the baby anymore. How do we get back on track? Cat. So this is exactly how babies get hurt and how dogs get put to sleep. I know that sounds really dramatic and really harsh, but it's the reality. We work with a ton of dogs that have had baby issues, and I know where it comes from. I know that we want our dogs and our babies, our family, to connect and feel comfortable and bond with each other. Problem is that your dog is, one, nervous and insecure, as you stated, so that already sets the table for more trouble, more challenge, more problems. And then next, your dog is most likely unsure about what the hell your baby is. So for dogs, babies don't appear to be little humans. They appear to be strange little creatures that smell different, sound different, speak different, move different. They can even resemble prey, the noises they make. They can elicit responses out of dogs that you wouldn't typically get otherwise. Does it make your dog a dangerous human aggressive dog? No. Does it make your dog a nervous, insecure dog that's stressed and overwhelmed and anxious and freaked out by what's going on in his home with this creature that he doesn't understand? Absolutely. So this tough love stuff, right? So I want you to hear this with an open mind, because it comes from love and it comes from care, and it doesn't come from trying to make you feel bad or a big heavy criticism thing. It comes from, let's move forward with a really healthy thing. So there should be a bubble around your dog and a bubble around your baby, and neither shall the twain meet for right now. So I don't want your baby crawling anywhere near your dog, in place or down or anywhere else. Your dog should feel, especially your insecure dog, should feel safe, and that you've got it, and that you're not going to allow this creature that your dog doesn't know what to make of intrude upon your dog's intimate space where he feels trapped, scared, nervous, and then reacts, right? So I think you got to snap. What does that mean? If you got to snap at your baby, that means you allowed way too much pressure to build to where your dog felt it had to do something to protect itself because it was unsure, insecure. Bad news bears, right? So, and you were like, how do we get back on track? That's not your dog's fault. And we'll dive deeper into this, but like I said, tough love time. That's not your dog's fault. That's your guy's fault. So there should be no baby by an insecure dog. There should be no baby by a secure dog. Zero, zilch. Now, there should be that bubble around your baby as well. Now, I know your dog was in place, and so it sounds like you're not allowing your dog to come like moving into your baby space, but just to make sure we're clear about this, your baby should have a space around it that your dog or any other dog doesn't get to intrude upon. Your baby space is a safe bubble, and what we're looking for here is existence. We're not looking for, let's bond, let's connect, let's be best friends because we'll be, in 5-6 years, like tippy-toeing through the tulips together. That's not how you get tippy-toeing through the tulips. That's how you get face bites. That's how you get dogs that get put down for biting kids when they didn't even want to. So what we're looking for is this existence. We're looking for, let's have these two different creatures, we'll call babies creatures, these two different creatures hang out and exist together in the same space without interacting. What does that do? It takes the stress and just cuts it off at the knees. Why? Because you're not putting anybody under pressure, right? So your baby doesn't really have a way to defend itself or do anything like it's going to harm the dog, but the dog can definitely harm the baby right now. So if you allow pressure, if you allow your baby to crawl over and your dog's like, I'm not sure what that is, I'm not sure what that is, and no one does anything, well, then you have to expect your dog to do something, especially if it's nervous, to protect itself because it doesn't know what to make of your baby. If there's anything I can get across to you, it's that it doesn't make your dog a bad dog. It means that your dog is unsure of what's going on. I don't know what this thing is that's coming towards me. Like, I know it's in your arms and I know you're cuddling it, but when it comes crawling towards me or when it's close to me and it sounds like this and looks like this and moves like this and smells like this, I don't know what to make of it. So that's your job. Your job is to say, I won't allow that. I will keep a bubble around my dog, keep my dog safe, and I'll keep a bubble around my baby and keep my baby safe. And I won't let those bubbles meet. Not right now. Existence and slow build of, because there's no stress of having to interact and trying to discern or assess, is this safe? What is this? What's going on? Your dog is like, who is this? What is this? I don't get it. I'm scared. I'm nervous. Your baby's like, oh, that's cute. And yeah, well, babies aren't really talking, but but your baby is thinking, oh, soft, cuddly, da 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 da, innocently. And they're actually both innocently making choices. The only one that knows what to do is you. So that's where you got to step in. So please promise me. We've worked with so many dogs with baby issues. Promise me. Go for existence and keep both of them safe. Keep a bubble around them and let them slowly get acclimated to each other. And what you'll find is that over time, they'll develop a very easy thing about each other because there was never the stress of like, who are you? What are you? What do I do about you? That's how we get into trouble. But if we allow the baby to slowly grow and develop and start to sound more and more like a human, and the dog to have the ability to slowly get more and more comfortable with that creature. What is that thing? Oh, I've seen it 100,000, not 100,000, but I've seen it 100 times, seen it 1,000 times. And now, okay, I'm not so worried about it anymore. Novelty, newness creates stress. What is that thing? I don't know what to make of it. So anyways, that's really the lowdown scoop. If you don't advocate for your dog and you allow a baby to get close, it's not your dog's fault that he snapped. You say you don't trust your dog, it's not your dog's fault. I'm telling you guys, it's not your dog's fault. If your dog snapped, it's your fault. You allowed your dog to have to be intruded upon by your baby. So, existence first, no judgment, right? It's just tough love because I want to keep everybody safe. But existence first, keep your baby super safe, keep your dog super safe, and allow them to slowly build a relationship. Everybody wants to see this like beautiful, like Hallmark card of a relationship connection built. And I'm just telling you, that's not how it goes down. Let it build slowly over time. Let them just slowly get used to each other, and you'll end up in a good space. I hope that helps. And like I said, it's meant with love. It's not meant with criticism or trying to make you feel bad. I just want to keep everybody safe. And it's an easy one to mess up on. So many of our owners have struggled with this, and we've had so much success by simply saying, just exist. It's almost too simple to wrap your head around, but it works. All right? I hope that helps. Okay, everybody. So this is the bonus. We're going to call this bonus question. Bonus question number 6. With me and my fancy iPad. I'm really taken with this. Anyways, guys. Okay, so this is from CSpotRunSJ on Instagram. Instagram, see, I told you I'd get to you. Everybody got left behind last time, but I just needed a device that I could read it on. So I'm here for you. Okay, so CSpotRun, boy, I'm having problems with my S's. It's the Invisaligns. I just took them out, so I'm like still like a little lispy. CSpotRunSJ, that's a lot of S's. Hi, Sean, and one more S. Would you suggest having different pricing and therefore 2 different websites if your services are offered in 2 different locations where the market is different in each? I have a training and pack walk business in San Jose, and I'm about to open up one in the Central Valley. Those are different markets. I may need to adjust my prices accordingly. What is your experience with having a training business in NOLA and LA? Thank you, and welcome back. CSpotRunSJ, I said it much better that time. Let's jump in. This is a good question. They're all good questions, but I like this one. So, 2 websites or 1? 2 different pricing structures or 1? Good question. And it's a smart question. So, just to share kind of our real world, what we're going through. So I'm currently updating. So let me just kind of not draw this out, but let me clarify this. So we have 2 websites. So that answers one question. We have a New Orleans website and we have an LA website. They're very similar in structure, but they have different pictures in order to personalize them for those locations, right? So 2 different websites. I didn't want to do an LA website and a New Orleans website and combine them. It just felt a little impersonal for each location, but then you also get into the problems of pricing like you're asking. So it's a really smart question. So we've got 2 websites, 2 different individual looks for each website, and then we do have individual pricing, or I should say 2 distinct different kind of price points for each location. So the markets are different. There's no doubt that Los Angeles and New Orleans are different. The clientele is different. The expectations can be different, but also the price point and what works in each market can be very different. So our Los Angeles website tends to have a bit of a higher price point, and our New Orleans website tends to have a little bit, I mean, it's not dramatic, but it's a little bit of a lesser price point, or a lower price point, I should say, just because we feel that that works really well. I think we've got it like really dialed in for that market. And as we grow and build and reputation increases, we'll probably increase those prices. But that, I hope, answers your question. It's really, like I said, it's a really solid question. Can you get away with one website? I think you can if you're not in cities that are a long ways apart and have a vastly kind of different appearance and culture and things like that. So if I was in, say maybe LA and San Diego, just as an example, I could probably get away with one website for both those places. They're both probably equally affluent, and there's a lot of overlap and similarities in just the appearance of the place, and also the attitudes and the kind of like, mentality of most of the clients we would see. So that would work. Now, if we get into Los Angeles and San Francisco, or Los Angeles and I'm trying to think something that's kind of like another city. But let's just go to San Francisco. We could probably keep the same price points with San Francisco, maybe even higher, because San Francisco is pretty damn pricey. But I would once again, it's such a good question. I would once again have to really discern whether, because you're thinking about it from a customer client standpoint, how does it feel to go to a website? And this was something I was just talking about with somebody the other day. Do you get more value, or do you feel more comfortable, or do you feel more trust with a business that has multiple locations? And you go, oh wow, they're, have expanded, and they have successful businesses in other locations? Or does that detract from the specialness of that unique individual location? And so that was a big conversation we just had the other day, me and a couple other folks. And for me, I feel like, and this is kind of being like really dialed into the location, I feel like New Orleans is so specific to itself, has such a specific vibe, and the people feel very special, specific, connected way to their city, that if I didn't have a separate website and I didn't have pictures of me actually working there and it was just LA stuff, I just don't think it would resonate with them. I think it would alienate people. I don't think they'd feel like that kind of like connection of a fellow New Orleanian, there. And but I don't think you'd have the same friction in Los Angeles and San Diego. I think that could work really nicely. So you'll have to decide based on, I know you said Central Valley and what was the other spot? Central Valley and San Jose. So they may not be that different, or they may. You'll have to figure out in your own kind of mind and heart of hearts. You have to really go down, like the best way to do it is go down the rabbit hole of like, if you were a client, how would it feel? Would you feel better with a website that had both locations and just talked about the multiple services you offer in each city? Or would it feel better to go to a website that's like, boom, Central Valley, here's the folks, here's the pictures? I don't think you can get around the fact that like personalizing a website and making it feel for the people, the indigenous peeps that live there, that it's like you're one of them. I don't think you can get by how valuable that is. Can you save money and make it simpler by having one website? Absolutely. So it really depends on your strategy. What we're going with right now and what we have been going with are 2 individual websites, 2 different price points. And yeah, once again, it gets back to that question of like, could you do one website and then have multiple price points? You could, but boy, it'd be a mess. And so we're overhauling both of our websites right now, and we're really like just about finished with New Orleans. And it was all about simplifying, like getting rid of stuff, making it more simple to navigate, more simple to absorb and comprehend. And I think when you start getting into a lot of complexities with different numbers, prices, programs, packages, it becomes overwhelming. People just kind of like gloss over and check out. So long answer, but I like what we're doing, and I'm having fun infusing the New Orleans website with a real and it's not phony because I spent a lot of time there, but a real feel of being in the city. Some iconic shots of the city landscape where people are like, oh man, that's, Crescent City Bridge, or that's, Crescent Park Bridge, or, any other locations there that people are like, wow, they really recognize that. So I think it's important, I think it's special, and I think it resonates with people. So you have to kind of make your own decision. Boy, was that a long answer to that question. So yeah, we do 2 websites, we do 2 price points. Hopefully that helps. Okay. And gang, that brings us to the end of our program. This was an interesting one. I thought we had some pretty cool questions. A little bit of business, a little bit of, baby proofing, super important stuff. Some other dog training questions. And of course, we had some fascinating information at the top of this about all of our goings on. I hope that this episode is valuable to you guys. I hope you enjoyed my little iPad as much as I did. Makes me feel very professional, and appreciate you guys all watching. I hope the show is valuable and sharing good info and helping you guys do better with your dogs and your life and everything else. So until next week, you guys have a great one. Take care, be safe, and I will chat with you guys soon. All right? See you later.